Okay, it looks like we have a situation unfolding right now around prices for our game consoles, our phones, just technology in general, as people are starting to look around and realize, oh, some of the stuff I bought a month ago, like RAM, has doubled in price. So because of this and people realizing the trends, are starting to look into it more and more. And I gotta tell you, going into 2026 and 2027, I'm trying to figure out how prices on the current consoles are going to stay the same, but then also how Sony and Microsoft are going to be able to turn in a next generation device that isn't $1,000 or more. And that really is kind of the territory we're wading into, but I'm going to go over that with you guys here today. So if you guys enjoy the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So first let's start here because we had a report going around that AMD is starting to react a bit more to memory price increases. Now, there was word that they had already changed some of the pricing kind of behind the scenes, but not for retail consumers in October. So last month, here we can see this post. Now, this is over on videocards.com, saying a new post on Chinese board channels forum claims that AMD has notified partners about a second price increase for its GPU, this time tied directly to higher memory procurement costs. And we can see here they mentioned that they saw a price increase around October, but wasn't significant, therefore not reflected in the cost of AMD cards. But with the most recent announcement and change as they're conveying here to partners, this would affect pricing. And seems like something that they're getting set up for 2026. And AMD recently announced a deal with OpenAI, and Nvidia has also been, we know, really providing chips to just about everyone who is pursuing this big AI frenzy right now. But as a lot of people have noticed, just as they're going through and looking at parts, DDR5 specifically has jumped as much as 60% since September. Now, some people have mentioned that this, like, certain ones that they had bought jumped 100%. So we are actually in some cases seeing a doubling of pricing around some of these DDR5 RAM kits that you would buy for maybe building a PC or upgrading yours currently. Now, GDDR6 also is seeing an increase, as they mentioned here, of around 30% as foundries and memory vendors shift capacity toward server DDR5, HBM, and AI products. Yes, so AI specifically seems to be now bleeding over into, well, a lot of parts that would be typically used for building a gaming PC or manufacturing a game console. It says AI is hurting your next PC upgrade as RAM prices skyrocket three times in 3 months. So they're going back even a bit further, and people are already bringing up the charts for PC part picker, and you can see the line just goes straight up at one point over the course of about 60 days. And with RAM prices spiking right now, we're also seeing a shift, as I mentioned, towards AI with NVIDIA's super chips and how they're standing up a lot of data centers for your OpenAI, XAI, Meta, Google, all these companies heavily pursuing the idea of AGI, artificial general intelligence, and then super intelligence, and I guess ruling the world. Who knows what happens when that switch flips? No one really does at this point. I mentioned that even phones could be affected. This we can see with server memory prices to double year over year in 2026. LPDDR5X prices could follow. Seismic shift means even smartphone class memory isn't safe from AI-induced crunch. Now, we're talking about phones here, but what other device, a gaming device, uses LPDDR5X? The Switch 2 does, and in fact, the Switch 2 has 12 gigabytes of memory or RAM on board, right? And you have to kind of think about that. The more RAM you're packing into some of these systems, the more expensive it's going to get because, just the more components you're going to have to stuff into these boxes, or with the Switch 2, these little tablet style devices. All right. So when you see this, phones already are really expensive, clearly, if you buy off contract. But yeah, they would then go up and be even more expensive. But Nintendo has already kind of played around with the idea of it with tariffs for the Switch 2. Now you're starting to hear about it just from a cost perspective. All right. Now, during the pandemic and everything that was going on, we had supply chains that were messed up. And because of that, there was then a big push to get more and more of these lines set up and then supply out there. And they almost had a bit of a situation where they oversupplied a few years ago. So they start to slowly kind of wind down a bit. And then here comes AI, and apparently they're caught off guard for a lot of this stuff. So now you're in this situation of the demand has, I mean, we talk about the line going up. It's gone completely vertical for AI when it comes to a lot of this stuff, as data centers being set up all over the place. They're talking about putting data centers in like the deep parts of the ocean. They've been bring up ideas of putting data centers in space. I mean, seriously, they're trying to put them anywhere they can at this point. So you kind of think about that. It's like, wow, we've actually left the surface area of Earth. Right now, we're starting to, while we're talking about DRAM and VRAM, all kinds of stuff, right? For GPUs and system memory, you're probably going to see a similar thing happen when it comes to NVMe, NAND flash, that sort of stuff, because apparently that might be the next thing that could become supply constrained going forward with a lot of this. So the thing that people are kind of hoping, I guess, especially when it starts to affect things like stuff you're into with your hobbies and gaming, you become more aware of it, right? So people are almost looking at this going, well, maybe if the AI bubble pops, then, that probably won't be good, but it like for the economy and all that stuff. But then maybe prices for a lot of these like DRAM and stuff will come back down to earth a bit. Well, a lot of people are judging the AI bubble and the health of that sector on Nvidia. And they had some pretty high expectations with their latest earnings that just came out, yesterday? And they beat them. So the expectation was almost $55 billion. That's a lot of money. They turn in $57 billion. It was like, what? They actually beat that? Yeah, and a lot of this has to do, once again, with them just being like the hot company on the market to go to for chips to, of course, be able to pursue this big AI push right now, this frenzy. And they are at the heart of this. I mean, they are providing these chips to all the different companies. I mean, they're counting Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Oracle, and Meta as customers. They are massive companies as well. And Nvidia is sitting at the heart of all of this. And so if you're Nvidia, you're going to be dedicating a lot of your time, a lot of your R&D, your parts, everything to AI. I mean, if you're trying to make as much money as possible, as these companies do, that's where it's all going to come from. Now, Nvidia, of course, they create gaming GPUs that people do like to buy, but it does make me wonder it makes me wonder how interested they are in that right now with how much money is getting thrown at them for AI. And there was discussion that they were having a hard time procuring enough GDDR7 for an apparent refresh of the 50 series, and then what happens with the 60 series. So there are still a lot of question marks around all that. And then even if they can, how much money would those cost, those cards, if they're stacking tons and tons of VRAM on there that is just getting more and more expensive? We come back to game systems in general, all right? Because that's, of course, what's being discussed right now going into, people are thinking 2027 for a PS6. 2026 has been thrown around for Microsoft. Well, it's not going to get cheap to make these things. We know Microsoft has no interest in taking a loss on their systems now. I mean, look, the Xbox Series X is $650. It's pretty clear they go, hey, it's going to cost more money. Okay, the price is going up. So I don't think $1,000 system is out of the realm possibility for them. In fact, I think they would just go for it. You know, they're going to look to bridge the gap between PC and the living room. And I mean, it's a PC. It's $1,000. There you go. Sony is a bit more interesting, because they are at least looking at this in the sense of, we need to, once again, find our way to 100 million units sold. The PS5 seems like it's on track to do that. The PS6 will become very difficult if, just way of how expensive this stuff is getting, they end up at the $800 mark or more, even subsidized. So this is where Sony needs to really be careful. And it does also make me wonder, do we need a new system in 2027? Do we really need it in 2028? I look around all the time and people go, I'm pretty content with what I have, and I'd like to see them do more with the current PlayStation 5 console, even like the PS5 Pro. Like these are still very, very capable devices. And when you get something like Unreal Engine 5 just constantly falling over itself, you sort of think, okay, maybe these these developers and publishers just need more time with the current hardware rather than asking what's next. You know, what's the PS6 going to do that's going to blow people away compared to the PS5? It's hard to say. I mean, better 4K. That's what a lot of people, I guess, are expecting at this point. But there's also discussion around the PS6 having 32 gigabytes of memory of RAM for their APU. Is like, man, that sounds expensive. So now with a being more aware of where we are currently with the cost and the rising prices behind the scenes with DRAM and chips being used here for these different systems and VRAM and everything, makes you wonder, what's the strategy for Sony? Because maybe they do a lateral move. The PS6 is all about AI upscaling and the partnership they have with AMD. As Mark Cerny himself has said, you know what? It's not really going to be something that we're going to push in a brute force style. It's going to be something that's more finesse. And yeah, you're going to hear about all kinds of different effects to go along with a system that on paper isn't necessarily going to look super impressive. And you know what? That should be the strategy at this point if they really want to go for 2027 with a PS6, because I don't know how easy it's going to be for them to sell 100 million systems at $800. And I know we're typically used to prices decreasing over the span of a generation, but the Black Friday deals just hit for the PlayStation 5 and discounted for the PS5 digital. It's back to its original price when it launched in 2020 at $400. So going into next year and even 2027, it actually wouldn't shock me if we saw prices on current consoles go up once again. Maybe the Switch 2 goes up to $500. Maybe the PS5 legitimately goes up to $600. That's kind of where we are right now, and how uncertain everything looks with the demand only going vertical because of all the AI stuff that's currently happening. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. It doesn't look good going into 2026 for the cost of a lot of this stuff. But hey, if you already have a PS5, if you already have a Switch 2, if you're content with your video card right now, it's going to be the situation of just trying to weather the storm, I guess. And well, hope they discover super intelligence, because I guess that'll just save everyone. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.